And we are live. Welcome into this Indiana Fever live post-game show. I'm Scott Agness of Fieldhouse Files. Make sure you are subscribed there, as well as to my YouTube channel to make sure you get all my coverage delivered directly to your inbox. It's been a long travel day for myself. I guess it's 7 o'clock back home in Indiana. I've been up Indiana time since 4:30. Long travel day. A couple of delays, a cancellation, but we're here and able to cover this Indiana Fever win 89-73. They got the W over the Las Vegas Aces, who entered the day 8.5 points favorites over the Fever. And you keep counting the Fever out. People do, the books do, everybody does. But they don't count themselves out. They continue to be in the fight. And in this one, again, for the fourth straight game in the postseason, they win the first quarter. They started strong. Even in that first quarter, they got up like 8, just didn't finish it. And that's why their lead was just 1 entering that second quarter. But overall, just an impressive way for this Fever team to start this semifinal series against the Las Vegas Aces, able to get it done. And maybe one of the more telling things, quite frankly, guys, the fact that not only did Kelsey Mitchell erupt for 34. To me, that's the number one story other than the team story. But secondarily, how about before the game? They announced the MVP, right? A'ja Wilson. She finishes the second half from the field, 1 for 6, 4 points. In the game as a whole, just 16. Was not at the podium post game either, so didn't have a chance to hear from her perspective. Just think about it post game in an NBA standpoint. You have LeBron James talking, of course. Pacers, you have Tyrese Halliburton talking, absolutely. But I thought the Fever did an excellent job, both ends of the floor. And so much of it, too, more than anything, is probably the defensive side because of how much that has been discussed with this group in particular since the start of training camp. They talked about how things have to be different this year. They can't be 11th of 12 teams in defensive rating and give up so many points. Yes, they were going to be a high-octane offense and deliver at an incredible rate. So much has changed this season, as I'm sure all of you are well aware of, certainly. But the defensive end, that carries. That travels with you. That's one of the reasons why they've been able to win in Atlanta last game, to win in Las Vegas here this game, and now take a 1-0 series lead. Now, remember, the format's different again. First round, 3 games. Second round, semifinals, whatever you want to call it, best of 5. The finals for the first time going to a best of 7 format. So, long way to go in this one. But I think the Fever have to feel really good about the way in which this game went down for them. I think the only scary moment, really, you maybe could say the end of the first, into the second. Fever answered with a strong start to the second. Into the third, there was, I think, a 12-1 run by the Aces. Fever called timeout. They answered with 11 straight points going into that fourth quarter. They were the team that shot better than 50% from the field. They were knocking down shots, even if it wasn't going down from three-point range, by the way, because Kelsey Mitchell was the only one that was really feeling comfortable enough around the arc, right? 4 of 6 from three-point range. Lexi Hull made the only other three-pointer. Lexi was tremendous tonight. Natasha, especially in that first half, but she finished with 12 and 11. But she was really good in that first half in particular. And really, I think this speaks to this group that's available still, is you can go on down the line. Aaliyah Boston. I love how she's played with attitude. She's played with force. And she's been feisty in these postseason. But again, tonight, we saw it last game in particular with Bree Jones, here tonight with A'ja Wilson. And all season long, one thing that has bothered them somewhat has been the physicality and the lack of consistency with calls. So they're saying, hey, look, we're just going to be physical and we're going to make officials decide how they want to call this one. And Fever, just one missed free throw. I think they made 14 for 14 to start the game, finished 16 of 17 at the line. They won the battle inside. They won the points in the paint battle. They won fast break points with 15 points, which was impressive. Almost scored 90 points in this one in a game which they led by as many as 16 points. Had several different great bursts that really helped them along. But, man, you can't say enough, really can't, about Kelsey Mitchell. And how about this for unselfishness, about thinking about the team, about trying to give others this spotlight. Maybe similarly to how maybe she in the years past, especially as they didn't make the postseason, not getting the spotlight. Post-game, she didn't do the post-game presser. No, it was Odyssey Sims, Bree Turner. But no, of course she's willing to talk. I think she just doesn't feel the obligation to do it after every game, wants it to be passed around, wants others to also get attention. So yes, we talked with her post game. You can see it here on my YouTube channel, by the way, in addition to the press conferences. But yeah, I thought that was just a telling moment about Kelsey. She's just a hooper. All she cares about is the basketball aspect. Now, in her comments with us, not just tonight, but all season long and since she's been here, is she's a deep thinker. She is reflective. She opens up a lot and did so in so many different ways, whether it's the relationship with Stephanie White or with her teammates, or being now a year and a half since she lost her dad, who was her rock, who was her everything. But so much to say about this game, and I think we'll get to it. Wow, already more than 100 of you in here. Sorry it's a little bit later. I wanted to be sure to do all my interviews and get those posted and get working on a story. But I knew, look, after this significant win, clearly the biggest win in a decade since the team went to the finals in 2015, which I was covering, this is the next biggest win because it's the current one right now. Shaylin Fever in 4. There you go. Nobody guards Asia like AB. What a great team showing tonight. Totally agree with you there. Brianna Turner, I think what she's been able to do in this postseason run is unheralded, and certainly something none of us knew was maybe, possible, given the fact that she was firmly out of the rotation and not getting much of an opportunity. I sit back and go, look, if they're not, it's probably because they're not showing up in practice the level in which they need, or usually more than anything, it's a depth problem. And Stephanie White explained after last game, look, she was the sixth big at one point this season. Now, a lot has changed, certainly. But I thought Bree Turner did a really nice job with Asia Wilson in spurts, and then other bigs. I mean, how about Nalissa Smith? 15 minutes, 4 points, 2 rebounds. Not a threatening stat line, a former Fever player, for example. Big Glenn says Fever going to shock the world, man. Pacers did it first. Now it's the Fever. Throw in IU football, and it's been an incredible trifecta for Indiana sports right now. What do you mean ESPN can't believe it? I think none of us can. Honestly, the level in which they continue to fight, continue to battle, don't make excuses. And, they're 25-20 during the regular season, and now 3-1 during this postseason run, and no reason to think they're not going to get another one. Bree Turner has definitely been clutch. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, the green chairs, man, I miss those. And I'm so mad, Glenn, by the way, I never was able to get one of those. I was hoping the fact once they had the $360 million renovations to the Fieldhouse that would be an opportunity to get one of those, just given the history, but was not necessarily the case there. Bree Turner played the best defense, agreed. Fever go to the finals with 3-0 semifinals. Can't agree with you there. This Aces team is too battle-tested. They're too talented. I thought it was notable before the game, Asia Wilson was named MVP, voted MVP, receiving the majority of the votes. I think it was 51 of 72. And then I thought Aaliyah Boston held her own there inside and did a nice job containing her. Now, that's not going to be an easy battle underneath. Wilson is an MVP for a reason. I think if I had a vote, I would have given it to Nafisa Collier, just given the level in which she's elevated her play, the fact that the Lynx have been the best team really all season. Remarkable what the Aces were able to do, winning. Before this one, by the way, they were the hottest team. They had won 18 of 19 games. I think they won 17 straight games to finish the regular season. You really have to go back to mid-July when they laid a stinker in Indiana and lost and really had no fight outside of Asia Wilson. No one else really did in that game. And I think that probably for Becky Hammond and company was a reset type of game. Like, hey, what do we want this season to be about? We got to compete. We got to leave it all out there. And obviously they underwent significant changes in the offseason, losing their top 2 assistant coaches. One to Golden State, one to Chicago there. And that takes a level of adaptation. We're seeing that even right now with the Detroit Lions. They lost both their coordinators to head coaching jobs. And so they were a little bit slow out of the gates. But again, Fever get the win tonight, 89-73, have a 1-0 series lead in this best of 5 series. Feel free again to continue to leave your comments, questions, and I'll get to them as best as I can here. Do we know if Didi will play once we get back to Indy? To be determined at this point, right? So Stephanie White, Chloe asked her about it before the game, and she said Didi has not progressed to the level that they had hoped after suffering a concussion about 10 days ago, and they chose to leave her back in Indy. And I think, quite frankly, that's a smart move with an injury, with a concussion like this. Like, the last thing you want to do is send her cross country just to be there. And I think it'd be much better off resting at home. And with concussion, there's no predictable timeline. We're all very different in that aspect. But surely you should be hopeful that she would be available come Friday. If not, you're looking at more than 2 weeks since she suffered that. But that's the latest on her. She was not here tonight, did not travel. I wouldn't expect for her to join for game 2, but maybe she will if she feels better and passes tests at home. The team is only holding kind of a film session, a review from tonight's game tomorrow. Not surprised by that on Monday, right? Because 1, they're short on players, and 2, look at the minutes distribution, right? Lexi Hall, 35 of 40 minutes. Kelsey Mitchell, 35 of 40 minutes. Odyssey Sims, 32 minutes. There's 3 of your starters. Aaliyah Boston, almost 30 minutes. So this group, you just need kind of the mental reps, maybe shoot some free throws, get some shots up, but nothing more than that. I mean, NBA, WNBA, no matter what it is, kind of the last month or 2 of the season, physical up and down scrimmage type practices, very rare, very non-existent, just because you can't afford to it given what's at stake and such. Can CC return if the WNBA changes the rule? They're not going to change the rule, right? So to clarify, as I mentioned in my last video after the Fever defeated the Dream to advance here, is she is not on their active playoff roster. Therefore, she is not available. She is not going to play another game this season. I'm not sure she even could right now physically, but don't even count on it. No reason to even mention it, because that is the latest. Not on the active roster. You will not see Caitlin Clark again this season. Like Kelsey Mitchell says and has leaned into with this group, all we got, all we need. And that's what this Fever team's working with for the final month here of the season, depending on how far they can make it. Yeah, Just Jules, I would agree. Didi must have taken a pretty good hit to still be out. I also don't know her history of concussions. Maybe she has a history of that. And the more you get, obviously, the even more cautious you have to be, because you don't want them to pile up. And I believe, but I'm not positive here, that the more you get, the more severe they can ultimately become. So you want to limit that. We see that in football all the time. But I'm never going to question anyone's toughness or they're not fighting through a concussion. No, you can literally not feel good and not pass a test. You can't be out there. But they certainly would love to have her back. And I don't know if need, but it's borderline need, right? Just given their depth, they need every healthy body available out there. Cross country at a very loud building, MJ Arena. Yeah, Michelob Ultra is very loud. This was actually, guys, my first time out here. And it was loud for sure. I mean, it's another one of those arenas that will dim the lights between quarters. We'll have musical performances. The bass is kicked up on one of the bass lines where the media seating is, which I appreciate. It's kind of an open kind of atmosphere, like a bar area, if you will, and open tables. And where I'm sitting right now is a courtside table shaped like a table in the it's been a long day in the gambling area. What else do we got here? Yeah, they're not going to change the rules this year. Certainly not. I don't know why they would. Fever got to go with Kelsey's been saying. Exactly. That's what I was saying. What would Didi even see the floor if she came back? I would expect so, although Bree Turner's playing quite well. And remember, Didi hadn't probably done anything for the last week, maybe not even cardio. That negatively impacts your head and a concussion. So you're right. Even if she's ready today, there's no guarantee that she would play in the next game, just from a readiness standpoint, a conditioning standpoint. But look, she's a national team player. She's a veteran player, been in the league 10 plus years. Like, I think you probably will have a need for her at some point. And so you want all healthy bodies on deck. Like, yes, they got game 1. Yes, they kind of dominated for the most part, right? And were in control and didn't really have much doubt in this game, maybe a couple points near the end of the third, 2 minutes left before that 11-point unanswered run. I think maybe in the end of the first after they gave up that burst. That too maybe is a little bit concerning there. But otherwise, outside of that 8-0 run and that the other stretch, I think the Fever had to be feeling really good about playing a complete game, about playing inside out, about scoring well enough. I think I haven't talked about it just yet, but I talked defensive end. How about offensive end? How much they pushed the tempo, how much they used hard setting screens. And that's something Coach White's really been emphasizing to the group this season, but more than anything, at least to us, over the last month or so, it's felt like that has really ramped up in particular. Oh, but I think the other thing I was going to mention there is how frequently the Fever were able to get to the basket, able to get good looks at it, whether it was mid-range, 8-footers, floaters, or layups. And how about one of those being Odyssey Sims, had 11 of her, 17 points in the third quarter. Kelsey Mitchell with 11 of her 34 in that third quarter. I thought that was a pivotal potential turning point in the game, and Fever didn't let it happen. They called timeout, regrouped. It was a bad stretch where over a couple-minute period, they turned it over 3 times. Just did not look like themselves, looked a little panicky, a little bit rushed. It allowed for the Aces to kind of settle in a little bit and knock down their shots, and then things changed quite a bit after that. Did the arena get quiet the last 3 minutes? You could feel the tension, I think, the last 3 or 4 minutes. I mean, look, all these buildings, more than I'd like, the volume's way too loud. They're jacking it up. They're trying to get fans engaged. They're trying to apply defensive pressure. There was one noise they made when the Fever were on offense that should be borderline illegal. Like, it was nasty, stinging type level of audio. I did not like that one. Don't teams who win Commissioner's Cup make the finals the past few years? Yes, absolutely. That's been the trend, mostly because they're the top teams, like Minnesota. And by the way, like the Fever, the Minnesota Lynx won tonight. I think I didn't see much, but I think they made a big run late in the game to defeat the Phoenix Mercury for game 1 in that series. But yeah, the Cup traditionally, I mean, it's only been held like 4 years, traditionally has been a very good indicator of who's going to reach the finals. That's a good point. I was there. Yes, the arena started to empty out and was pretty quiet, but they fought until the last possession. Yeah, absolutely. And I will say there were some empty seats, and where we are down low, it's kind of hard to see all over. And clearly, this individual had a better viewpoint of people filing out in the lower, or the lower level. That's kind of the upper deck here. It was a sellout. The number is 10,409 for reference. So a little bit more than half of what Gamebridge Fieldhouse is. This is 3 times, 2.5 times what it was for the Atlanta Dream down there at Gateway Center Arena. Need to run, but Demita from Courtside Club would love to interview me. I'd be happy to do that. I think Rachel does a nice job. Absolutely. Why not? Schedule's a little busy right now, but I'm sure we could find some time. Bree Turner, MVP again. There you go. Granny Danger. Hey, where you been, man? Good to see you on here. Kelsey Mitchell, already a Fever legend. Man, her story is one. I hope I'm going to be able to tell it fairly enough and get into it extensively enough without being too long here. But she has been through so much since she was drafted here 7 years ago. Mostly been in the mud, as they like to say, right? Like, played at the old Fieldhouse where maybe 3,000 fans showed up. Renovations went on, so they played at the Coliseum. The barn, where there was poop, as she likes to share and joke, but it's very real. Played at Hinkle for a handful of games. Now they're very much taken seriously, and they're playing hard and incredible. She also has a much better coaching staff than she's had since she's gotten here. She's also got a much better talent group around her, and all that matters. And then I think that empowers her to be the best version, most comfortable version that she is with herself, right? And so think about it. She said after the game, she has never won here in Las Vegas, and the Aces have been around 7 years. Earlier this season, remember that blowout win for the Fever over the Aces? That was the Fever's first ever win over the Aces. So with Kelsey, it's a whole bunch of firsts. And by the way, she won't discuss it. She probably wasn't thinking about it too much, but the MVP voting came out today, right? She finished 5th, certainly deserving of that. But she probably looked on the other side and goes, hey, there's their MVP. There's our league MVP. And I scored twice as many points. I led the team to a win. There's no doubt she has been one of the most valuable players in the league this season. Her durability, her consistency. Remember, she started the year and her finger was like crooked. Like, I don't even know how to do it properly. And she's managed through all of that. And this was the thing. It was not a given, guys, that she was going to be back this season. It wasn't. She wanted to consider her options as a free agent for the first time. But here's where I give a lot of credit to Stephanie White. She said from day one, Kelsey's my number one choice. But it's got to be mutual. I don't want to force her into anything. I don't want to convince her. What I want to do is get on the same page. What I want to do is understand where she comes from, what she needs, how I can help her become a better player, how I can help her and this team become better. And that was important to her and went a long way. And I think that in large part was the start. That set the foundation for this season. It also, excuse me, it also speaks to what Kelsey mentioned in her emotional reaction and answer post-game in Atlanta just a couple days ago, how this team has poured into her, how Steph has poured into her. So there's so much there. I hope to get into it a lot with my upcoming story here. Wow, almost 300 people here on this live. My goodness, you guys are amazing. Appreciate you guys checking me out. Again, make sure you're subscribed here to my channel and online at fieldhousefiles.com. Playoff vibes have been off the charts, absolutely. No doubt, Shaylin, for sure. And it's important, I think, for every playoff team to get at least one home game. Last year was very amateur-ish, but back in the day, I mean, there was probably 3 good WNBA teams who were real threats to win a championship. So you did not need – I mean, go back to 2016. Opening round, Fever and Mercury played 1 game, and that determined who moved on. So it's become a lot more serious as it's become a lot more professional, established, and quite frankly, more than anything, followed league. And obviously the talent level has significantly increased as well. That's why I'm very interested what this upcoming offseason is going to look like with the CBA and 2 expansion teams and 3 more expansion teams at least coming down the pipe. Kelsey, best guard in the league, should have come in at 4th. Those disparities in those notes was disrespectful. I just love the fact that she was a top 5 vote getter. And by the way, Aaliyah Boston finished right behind her, in 6th. Again, I think voters recognized how important both of those were, that they started and played in every single game in a year where durability and availability was most important to this Fever team, and they brought it and contributed at a big-time level. Do you think Fever would do better against Minnesota or Phoenix? I would say Phoenix, personally. Although, actually, I'm changing that. This Fever team has 0.0% interest in ever returning to Phoenix again, given the bad juju that's going on there, right? Caitlin's injury, Sydney Colson's injury, Ari McDonald's injury, Sophie Cunningham tweaked her ankle, Keith suffered his torn Achilles while in Phoenix. So I think at all costs they want to avoid that Phoenix just from that standpoint. But look, with Minnesota, it starts with Nafisa Collier. But look, they went to the NBA or WNBA Cup, Commissioner's Cup, and showed that they could win and do so on the road. So that wouldn't scare you at all. Yeah, to me, you want to avoid Phoenix more than anything, if anything, just for that bad juju. Just an incredible game to be at. I think this is one where I thought it was important for the Fever to get off to a good start, right? It's they're a team I think would have a slight advantage given the fact that it was a 3 p.m. tip-off in Indiana. I don't like noon starts. I mean, some people in the media room were saying, that seems like an excuse. I don't know. I don't like big-time games at noon local time. And it just felt like the Aces were 2 steps slow all game long. That had to be concerning for them. Becky Hammond postgame saying our problem was on the defensive end and then not moving ball on the offensive end. We'll have to talk about it. She said they played with greater urgency. Our pursuit simply was not there. I think we were ultra stagnant. Jackie Young, former Indiana Miss Basketball, said our defense, it wasn't here tonight. So they were very frustrated, displeased with their performance, as you would expect, given the result, how they played, how they trailed the majority of the game, and it took a masterful run there. I think it was 11-1, 12-1 there late third quarter to get back in the game. I think they got back to within 3. But then got to within 4 after a 12-1 run, 10 in a row. And then the Fever answered with 11 straight. And that really tweaked the game and ultimately ended up to be the game changer right there. So it was probably the right thing. The Aces were pissed off after the game. They were frustrated. They were bothered by this performance. And if I'm the coach, if I'm on that team, that's what I want. Every one of these games matters. And I want that frustration, and I want them to carry that into Tuesday if I'm the Aces. Do you think the game was called fairly? For one, I will say from my viewpoint, it's very difficult to completely see all the game action, both with people in front of us, both with being on the baseline and being field level. It was very difficult to see some of the play calls and to see some of the physicality, the basket extension. Overall, I thought it was fine. There was nothing that pops out at me right now. There's probably a bad call here, bad call there, but that's typical. You're going to get that. I don't think it was outwardly terrible by any means. That stood out to me, but I'll have a better indication after going back and watching. Now I sound like a coach going back and watching the film, but it's truly needed here. If we're not sitting like up here, you don't have a good vantage point of what's going on. Fever never doubled Asia and prevented the ball movement. Yeah, they did send some help, I believe. But Aaliyah Boston played her physical, played her tough. You had Natasha inside. Bree Turner did a nice job when she was in there. And overall, I thought it was just terrific. Truth, I've already explained. I'm not against her coming back. She is not allowed by league rules to come back. She's not on their active playoff roster, therefore she cannot come back. Not me. We all know we want to see Caitlin. And you're wrong. She is not healthy. Fever will win the chip. Critics will get louder because Caitlin hasn't contributed. Man, if they pull it off, it'd be one of the all-timers. That's a documentary that needs to be done if they can pull off. Quite frankly, maybe a mini doc needs to be done anyway, whether it ends this series, whether it ends next one, or they win it all. This group has something special that I think if I'm a coach at any level, a player at every level, I want to watch it, see it, take notes from, and try to duplicate it on my own. What else? Who else do I want to highlight here? I've done Lexi. Absolutely. She was phenomenal. So she's so tough. I don't think she gets enough credit for being as hard-nosed, as physical, just kind of a pest out there from those that are Pacer fans. She's kind of TJ McConnell in that element. You know, you can count on her every single night for certain things. You know, some nights she's going to do a few things more than she typically does, but more than anything, she's reliable, hard playing, in great shape, and just is dependable. And you need those players. You really do. I also thought I asked Bree Turner, tell me about Kelsey. Like, what's she like behind the scenes? What has stood out to you about her? And she's like, look, every team needs a Kelsey Mitchell, but you guys can't have her because she's ours. I was like, wow, okay. That's telling. And then I told that to Kelsey, and she was taken aback by it and like appreciative of it. I don't think she takes any of those comments, thoughts from her teammates or anyone outside for granted, because I think she felt slighted probably her first 5 years in Indiana. Lack of coverage, lack of interest, lack of fans, lack of wins, lack of quality coaches at times, like lack of everything. And now she's finding joy in the game. I just wish her dad was able to be along for this ride with her, alongside her. But I've never seen her both at peace and as comfortable with herself as I have this season. Not at all. I'll write that documentary. There you go, Adrian Ross show. There you go. Truth, I will explain that. I did reply to a tweet and say it was possible. I was corrected. I did not know the WNBA has an active playoff roster, certainly do the regular season, but I was corrected by a couple of people, and that's how I learned. So, yeah, I was not lying. I actually learned that myself, and that's why I passed it on immediately following that Game 3 win. So I'm glad I had an opportunity to correct that. That's exactly what happened there. Everyone keeps saying Asia was off, didn't play like herself. Well, she's been off with AB Gartz, or coincidence? I think not. Yeah, it's an emotional day, I will say, for a player when they get the MVP award, when they get celebrated, when she does this major press conference before the game. I kind of view it like in football when it's, or any sport actually, when it's ring night, first game of the season, and you get your rings and you feel like you're accomplished and you're celebrating something, and you lose fact of the main thing. You lose fact of where your attention should be. Now, that said, yeah, I thought AB did a great job with her, made things difficult, was very physical with her, competed inside. Asia Wilson got into foul trouble. I think that took her out of it a little bit. And then she didn't see shots go down, 1 of 6 in that second half. And that's very frustrating. And then you're down by double digits and you feel like you need help from everyone else. And I think it just piles up, and it felt like that's kind of the direction that it went for her. Now I'm very curious to see how she and this Aces team respond coming up in game 2. Is it the same time of game? Are the Fever able to have their way once again? Or does she go off for a 40-point night or something wild like that? That's the type of performance you would expect for the player that was voted best player in the league once again. Let's see. Julia is so happy for Kelsey. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's been probably, other than the team story, that's been the best story tonight and all season long for this Indiana Fever team. All right, I'll answer a couple more questions. Gone more than a half hour here, almost 300 with me here, which I appreciated. Thank you all for joining me and being part of this conversation. It's been a long day for me. It's 4:36 out here local time in Las Vegas. I had to get up at 4:30 for my flight, Indy time. So I'm on 15 hours right now, and it's mid-afternoon here in Vegas. No complaints, because this is fun. This is why I get into this business, right? You want to have the joy for all of this. So who else is from the Aces going to show up to help Asia? Well, good question. I think you start Chelsea Gray. It's got to be in the backcourt with Chelsea Gray and Jackie Young, right? Like, Fever are depleted in particular at the guard position. They're on their 4th point guard, or been down 4 point guards, I should say. They've got to make more of an advance, I think, on that front. I think Alyssa Smith at center needs to do a little bit more on that level. But to me, it's on that it's on the backcourt, and then for the Aces, it's also with their bench. Like, Jewel Lloyd had her way with the Fever last year, if I remember right. Felt like she averaged like 40 points per game when she was in Seattle. Today, just 3 points, 1 of 5 shooting. So this was not just Asia or anything like that, but you expect more. And Jackie Young led the team with 19 points here tonight. Isn't Kelsey a free agent after this season? Yes, and so is most of the league, by the way. So that's the other fascinating thing, is what's free agency going to look like? How much money do teams have? And because of the free agency, is there a huge shift in players? Are there super teams? Is that even possible with money? We have way more questions than answers at this juncture. I think DB and Alyssa. Oh, never mind. I'm done. I can't read that. My bad. Fever have gotten better at defending the perimeter for sure. And it's that point of attack defense for sure, is they've been slowing up. And so you're not relying on your help side defense as much. You're not having to remember, excuse me. Remember how many times they had to go to zone when they were just trying to figure it out with different lineups? Like, that's tough. Yeah, that's tough. And so this Fever team's gotten a lot better. I think a lot of it just comes in practice, comes in time that they've had time on the practice court together. They've had game action together. And so, it's a situation where you can see that be beneficial to this Fever roster and has helped get them to this point. All right, a couple more questions here. Yeah, I didn't realize there was a function here to put someone in timeout, but I did that there because there was comment I did not need to read and should not need to be said. Comparing Lexi to the big cat species, she makes me think of a panther. Long, strong legs, sleek, fast, can roar. Good one. I agree with that, Margaret. Absolutely. No doubt about that. And she, like Kelsey, is also a type of player that every team wants and every team needs. Feisty, knocks down shots well, good at the free throw line, just old faithful, old reliable, super dependable, is out there for every game. She too is someone very important. They started cooking since last year. No way she leaves after all she's been through. Yeah, I wouldn't expect that. But again, it's way too premature to talk about anyone's free agency, I think, when we don't know even the parameters of what it looks like and what's important and what's possible. And then it goes into what's important for a player too. I like the fact for her, this is close to home in Ohio. So it's close to, even Ohio State where she played, right? And so this is as close to home as I think she'll be able to get right now. But Kelsey's been fantastic. We cannot spend enough time talking about her, praising her, highlighting her, because one of the things I haven't even talked about is their defense. Someone earlier mentioned this team's perimeter defense. I mentioned their point of attack. It also starts with Odyssey and Kelsey out there, right? The level in which she's elevated her defensive game, that she's elevated her leadership, her voice, so wildly exceptional and very, very impressive. All right, we're going to wrap this one up. I'm going to get to writing and probably have some rest ahead of me, hopefully, after a long day here in Las Vegas. But Fever have a 1-0 lead in this best of 5 series against the Aces after today's win. 89-73, led by Kelsey Mitchell, led by Odyssey Sims, and tremendous effort by Boston, by Lexi Hall. You can go on down the line. It's just a tremendous win that they led at the very beginning and throughout most of this one, and now have to be feeling good about themselves, but can't be feeling too good. It's just one, and you need 2 more to advance to the WNBA Finals. Thanks again to everybody for following along, not just tonight, but all season long. I appreciate that. If you haven't done so, make sure you are subscribed here to my channel on YouTube, my podcast, and as well at fieldhousefiles.com. Thanks again for everybody for joining me here on this live stream, and I'll talk to you all again soon. Have a great night.